Joe, how much do you like snow?
Snow? Not at all. It's awful. Mother Nature can shove it.
Good, because you know what starts this week?
What?
Spring training. Hope
Good.
hope is springing eternal to for the famous quote of spring training is when baseball beats back the dark forces of winter in the National Football League.
See,
Paraphrasing, but
Tony Phil, I love him. Great movie, Groundhog Day. But he's generally wrong. And this year he said 6 more weeks of winter, so hopefully that means an early spring.
I mean that's better than the one time he died because they dropped him.
What? I didn't know about that. I thought it was the same one for all these years.
No, that was a few years ago. Don't you remember? I think it was I think it was someone from New York, Cuomo or something like that. I forget who. But anyway, that this is not two Groundhog Brothers. This is two Sports Brothers, and with spring training starting, with pitchers and catchers report tomorrow for some teams, and the first games are on the 27th, so less than 2 weeks away. I had a feeling let's do a bit of a two prediction brothers, and so I have here the PECOTA projections for 2021, which is a annual ranking by Baseball Prospectus that forecasts the MLB standings, individual player performances, and factors in stuff like depth charts, playing time, statistics, and then does a simulation to tell you how good your team's supposed to do and what are their odds to win the division. So, to start this off, let's go with our home division, the AL East, where to no one's surprise, the Yankees are projected with 81% chance to win the division and finish with a 97-65 record. The rest of that division pans out as the Rays 86-76, Blue Jays right behind them 85-77, 80-82 for the Red Sox, and then 66-96 for the Baltimore Orioles.
I don't see how. I don't think the Yankees are going to win this by 11 games. That's crazy.
Well, as I said, these rankings take in the projections for depth chart, playing time, all that stuff. And one of the biggest things that goes in the Yankees' favor is the subtractions of the Rays. They don't have Blake Snell anymore. They don't have Charlie Morton anymore. They haven't really done much addition. The Blue Jays, I'm surprised that they're at third. I thought they've made enough odds that they would at least hit second, but I guess with so much upside, it's hard to predict if they have to factor in if players regress and go behind their curve rather than with their curve. So that's why they're there. Red Sox.
I think 97 wins is still a little bit high for the Yankees too.
Well, remember they're beating up on their division, which includes the Red Sox and the Orioles. That's
where they doing only playing your division.
But we're back to the full 18 games. So that's probably assume like something like 15 and 4 or 3 for the Baltimore Orioles, or something stupid like that. Especially if Glaber rediscovers why he loves Baltimore and why Gary Thorne hates him. But
hopefully the Yankees learn how to hit against the Rays this year, because that was awful last year.
Oh, that
was like literally the only team they couldn't beat.
Yeah,
was the Rays.
Yeah, and they probably also have to factor in stuff like, is Randy Arozarena continuing to become a star? Was that just a 2-month outburst?
Yeah, and if his legal troubles don't sneak up on him.
Yeah. Moving on to the AL Central, no surprise here either. Well, not at the top, but in the middle, it's a bit of a surprise. Twins projected 61% chance to win the division at 91-71. Skipping a little bit, Royals fourth at 71-91, and Tigers 67-95. What's surprising is 2 and 3, because if you remember, the Indians lost Lindor this offseason, Carlos Carrasco. They traded away Mike Clevenger this offseason. Meanwhile, the White Sox have all that young up-and-coming talent. They have the MVP, Jose Abreu. They have Yoan Moncada. They have They have Eloy Jimenez, all these great guys. They added to bolster the back of that bullpen Liam Hendricks, and yet the Indians are projected at number 2 with 86 and 76, and the White Sox at 3 with 83 and 79, and only a 13% chance to win the division. I see the Twins being at the least competing for the number 1 spot with the White Sox. I think the White Sox are better than the Indians, honestly. That pitching staff, notwithstanding for Cleveland, their outfield is still a mess, and they have a lot of power and on base ability in Lindor that they have to make up.
Yeah, I mean, they do say pitching wins championships, and well, the Indians haven't won a World Series in I don't know how long. Was it like 80 years now or something like that?
Yeah.
Something crazy.
Yeah, 1947, I believe.
Yeah, so well before we were born. But the Indians keep seeming to find good young arms, as we've seen over the years. They've had I don't know how many pitchers win the Cy Young.
Well, we can just name off the top of my head, going back to 2000, CC Sabathia, Cliff Lee, Corey Kluber, and then you have...
Did Johan Santana win?
He was on the Twins. Yeah. But we're talking about the Indians, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, CC Sabathia won 1, Cliff Lee won 1, Corey Kluber won 2.
You just said Shane Bieber.
Yeah, Shane Bieber. So that's... And never mind guys like Carlos Carrasco, Mike Clevenger, Dan Plesac, Zach Plesac, not the elder Plesac.
Trevor Bauer.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't win it with the Indians. Was a part of that Indians organization.
And you have up and coming guys like Tristan McKenzie who wowed in his debut.
Yeah. So I'm not too worried about their pitching side in the long future. So if they don't figure out pieces for this year, I'm sure they'll be fine by next year. But their hitting is definitely what's got to happen.
Yeah, because you have Jose Ramirez, who's going to be your anchor in the lineup, but going behind that, you have Cesar Hernandez, Eddie Rosario, who they apparently had to reach for to get, which on a 1-year $8 million deal, and you're saying you had to stretch your budget for that when you're paying like $50 million to the entire payroll. That's you have Fran
No wonder why they couldn't afford Trevor Bauer.
Yeah.
Stretching their budget for $8 million. He just signed a $40 million contract.
Yeah. Fran Reyes and Oscar Mercado should bounce back to help that outfield, but it is still compare that to the La Bamba squad of Minneapolis, the White Sox big young core of position players, and even the Royals who have a nice hitting core developing. If there's going to be a surprise, I would think that it would be that the Royals finish 3rd and the Indians finish 4th, because the Royals are about a year or 2 away, I would think, especially depending on other factors in the division.
Mm-hmm.
But look for them in the middle part of this decade to make some noise. They're building a nice young new core around, and they should be able to get back into contention not that long. But yeah, Cleveland Indians, who now have the lowest payroll in MLB, I don't see them making 3rd.
Yeah. I would have.
Let alone
my
second.
guess would have said the White Sox for the top of the division with maybe 93 wins, and the Twins with about 91 is what I would.
I guess they're probably factoring into that late collapse at the end of the season.
That's what
I
understand. That's where they may be coming from, but it just shows that they had that one bad week, but they had the number 1 spot in the American League going in with 10 days to go.
Yeah.
And then they dropped all the way to 3rd place or whatever it was.
Yeah. It cost Rick Renteria his job.
Yeah. So I think it'll be fine. I think the White Sox will contend. They've got a really nice young core.
Oh yeah,
I don't think they're going to win it this year because I think the Yankees are going to win, obviously.
Yeah, always go with that as the safe option.
But I think if they can get some stuff going on, maybe find like a good bullpen arm.
Yeah,
The
which
trade deadline.
Yeah, and as I said, they got Liam Hendricks already, who is the best relief arm available.
Yeah,
they added Lance Lynn to that rotation.
Yeah.
All the young guys are coming up, and let's not forget also how shrewd, as much as Tony La Russa is a few years behind what baseball managers have been. He earned that Hall of Fame resume for a reason. So it'll be interesting.
But we're approaching the 11-minute mark here, so let's get rolling so we don't eclipse last week's 1 hour 4 minute record.
Oh, we should be.
AL West.
All right, so you have it up, or should I?
I only have the projected wins, not the wins and losses.
Yeah,
so I don't feel like doing math, but it says the Astros are supposed to get 93 wins, Angels with 87, the Athletics with 80, Mariners with 70, and then the Rangers with 67. So Astros, bit of a down year, but as we saw with a lot of teams last year, 60 games, small sample size, can't expect too much, but when you take away a lot of certain things players were used to, like getting in-game reviews of footage, which we both agreed that it shouldn't be allowed in-game. So players will have to adjust and figure things out. Maybe they'll have to switch from computers to trash cans.
Again, you would switch back. A regression. But yeah, what surprises me out of this are the Mariners. I see them as only being like a year away, and especially with the A's losing Hendricks, Simeon, and Chris Davis in free agency, and always the will they, won't they find cobble together a working pitching staff, which they've had luck the last couple of years, but you can only keep rolling the dice so many times. Plus that Mariners, like I said with the Royals, they might be a year away, but they're looking good with the young Kyle Lewis, who's looking like Griffey 2.0 in that outfield. They just added their old friend James Paxton on a 1-year deal. They have
Brantley's still there. Sorry, I was looking at Houston. Sorry, ahead of myself.
No, they have Marco Gonzalez as a good inning soak. They're probably a good pitch. They're probably a top of the rotation pitcher, and 2 position players away, I would say, from making noise in that division. And then, I would put them as third over the A's. And then the Angels, it depends on if they actually know what a pitching staff is, as has been the case since about 2014.
Yeah, you could say the Angels have not had a staph infection, or maybe they have. That was a really bad joke.
Yeah.
But what I find most interesting about the Mariners is James Paxton, pitching with the Yankees the last year and a half. Was pitching so-so his first year with the Yankees, and then the second half he really took off. And then last year he had, like a cyst or something on his back.
Yeah, he just never was able to get it going.
Yeah, he couldn't get that in that shortened season. So I think he would have been fine had he had a bit more rest. Well, we thought he was going to have more rest, but he sort of just kept getting setbacks.
Yeah. He got more rest, not by choice.
Yeah. But what's interesting wasn't Sheffield, their slotted number 4 pitcher, the Mariners, he came over from the Paxton deal with the Yankees. So that's now a thing. And also to sort of switch back to the Indians as well, Clint Frazier is the only player still left in the organization between that Yankees and Indians deal that sent Miller to the
to
the Indians, and got the Yankees Frazier and all the other prospects and other things. So I don't know. I guess some trades work out for the Yankees, some don't. Some work out for other teams, and you wind up back where you are.
Sometimes you get the Max Scherzer, Ian Kennedy, Curtis Granderson trade. Sometimes you get the Michael Pineda, Jesus Montero trade. You never know. But moving right along, let's switch leagues. Go over to the NL East, which is posed to be one of the more competitive districts, but not by PECOTA's stance. PECOTA projects the Mets to run away with the division at 96 and 66. The Nationals second at 85-77. The Phillies finally having a winning season after all these times, but still not cracking the playoffs with 83 and 79. The Braves, the defending division leading Braves at 82 and 80. And the Marlins, it's only 68 and 94. I see this being a lot closer than what this is. Yeah. First of all, the Mets obviously are the most improved team in the division. But two, the Nationals, remember, they got off to the same slow start last year that they did the year before when they won the World Series. So who knows, maybe if it was a full season, the Nationals would have righted the ship again and been right back in the hunt. The Phillies, as usual, are enigmatic. They've gotten some bullpen help this year for Joe Girardi, not the best help.
They did re-sign Didi, though.
Yeah, they re-signed Gregorius. They changed some of those rotations, but their make or break is if they can have a bullpen, because that's what doomed them.
And if Bryce Harper can hit .330 with 42 home runs again.
Yeah. The Braves, obviously, they won the division last year, and
which is why I'm a little surprised they're a little low on there.
Yeah, the only person they really have lost right now is Nick Markakis. In every other sense, they re-signed Marcell Ozuna. They have Charlie Morton now. Remember, their pitching staff last year was decimated by injuries. You'll get Mike Soroka back at some point.
Yeah, so I would have had them more at like 92 wins.
Yeah, but. And also as I look up the guy's name, you also remember they have that phenomenal young pitcher that basically Ian Anderson, that to add on to Max Fried. Anderson, when he came up, he basically was a godsend to a rotation that lost its ace. So have all those people healthy, Soroka, Anderson, Fried, and Morton. That is one of the better rotations in baseball. And then
as much as we like the Marlins making the playoffs and winning a playoff series last year, they're too young and inexperienced probably to make the playoffs on a full season. So
they have a lot of upside. That rotation is very intriguing, but there's too much in the division that I just don't see them climbing. Maybe climb over the Phillies if the Phillies really fall flat, or if the Nationals continue to splutter. But that third is the best I could peg them, and that's a reach.
Yeah, it's gonna be the Mets or the Braves for the division, I'd say. But I guess moving on to the NL Central,
which is the biggest dog's breakfast of the division. The Pirates notwithstanding, the Pirates at 61 and 101 are projected to have the second worst record in baseball next year.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to the number one, but
not to say like the NL Central is bad.
If any, it's just the problem with the NL Central is no one's really done anything of note. The Cardinals went out and got Nolan Arenado in a fleece deal, and even they're projected at only 81 and 81.
Yeah.
With the Cubs at 85-77 and the Brewers at 89-73 ahead of them.
Yeah, so I don't know, and the Cubs look like they're trying to get rid of Chris Bryant, so it's amazing like how his career has gone, because he has, I believe, he won like College Player of the Year, and the following year he won like Minor League Player of the Year, then he won Rookie of the Year the following year, and then MVP that following year when they I believe won the World Series. but like he just like has not been that good since, and it's just sort of, I guess it was like injuries the one year, and then you have a shortened season. Just trying to pull up the stats, but the computer is slow.
I got you. Last season he in 34.
Well, everyone in Chicago did terrible here.
Yeah, but he did especially only 4 home runs and a 206 batting average.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what though. Remember back when a few years ago when he was going into a filing grievance for how he was called up a week after the season so that they'd gain an extra year of service on him. Boy, is he happy he has that extra year of service, because that would have been a terrible year to go out for a platform year for free agency.
Yeah.
Say what he wants. He basically gets a free thing because he's only a year removed from 31 home runs and a 282 batting average.
Yeah.
So that potential is still there. He just fell completely flat last year for the first time in his careers.
Yeah.
He'll be back, but
I mean, for him, yes, that worked out. But like a lot of things, so he's coming out of that contract. He's going to be 30. Does he only have 5 more years left to play and be at age 35? I mean, you could push it to like 37 or something. But he's playing on a National League team. He's not going to get that DH option unless if the National League adopts it at the end of this year or whenever they rework things.
Which is most likely.
Yeah.
But he doesn't need to prove he needs to go 5. He just needs to make sure that last year wasn't an aberration. Even if he hits 250, that's better than than like 210. There have been a lot of players who have.
No, but what I'm saying though is like teams are only going to like sign him max 5 years or something. You're not going to get something where he can like lock himself into like an 8-9 year deal or something crazy like what Machado got.
Yeah, I could still see him getting like a 7-year deal if he returns to form. But anyway.
But he's coming up at the age of 30 though, is what I'm saying. And that's sort of like you hit 30, you're kind of past your prime for the most part.
Yeah, but I'll also remember a lot of teams are shying away from those big contracts anymore in general, not just because of that. They're only really giving them to players who are like 27 or 28.
Unless if you're the Dodgers, then you go and give lots of things, which is a nice sort of little segue.
Yeah, good segue.
To the NL West.
Yeah, because to nobody's surprise, the Dodgers are projected to have 103 wins, which, if my math is correct from and double checking everyone else, is the best record projected in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Padres second at 96 and 66, I think is tied for the second or third, but yeah, that's tied for the third best record with the Mets projected. Then the enigmatic D-backs at 73 and 83. The Giants projected to regress at 75 and 87. And then, as stated before, the worst record in baseball projected, the Colorado Rockies at 60 and 102.
Yep.
So, and to nobody's surprise, the Dodgers are projected at 78% odds to win the division. The Padres at 21%, and the other 3 teams a big flat 0. Because if it's not the Dodgers, it's definitely going to be the Padres. This is going to be the 2-horse race for years to come, with maybe the Giants or D-backs clawing in if they approve additional playoff spots for 2022.
Now, can we just like sort of go over the Dodgers depth chart right now? I mean, for their pitching, they have Kershaw, Bauer, Buehler, Price, and Arias. Then they have, like, for their field, they have Will Smith catching, Max Muncy at first, Gavin Lux at second. They re-signed Justin Turner to a 2-year deal at third base. They have Corey Seager at short, Chris Taylor in left, Bellinger in center, and Mookie Betts in right. And they signed A.J. Pollock in the offseason?
A few years ago.
A few years ago. So they have him as the DH. I don't want to pitch or hit against them.
They also have Edwin Rios, who was fantastic as a DH for them last year. And they also, if I remember correctly, they picked up a nice young infielder Yes, Sheldon Noisy, who is a well-regarded prospect from the A's system, who's just been blocked for years.
And if Kenley Jensen can figure out how to pitch again, they've got one of the best closers in baseball.
Yeah,
Um,
but
so I don't know what kind of yips he's had the last year and a half, but they got to fix that.
yeah, but even if he does still have that problem, which I think he might still have, they still have Blake Trinan. Broussard Gratterall is still a arm to watch. Just looking at there from last year, uh, Blake Trinan, Dylan Floral, Jake McGee's not on the team anymore. Victor Gonzalez. They have Tommy Kalin, who probably won't pitch this year, I believe, but he will be a factor. It may be late this season, definitely next season. That and as I said, they've shown anyone in their rotation can in the back end of that rotation will be out of the bullpen at times. So I fully expect Tony Gonsolin and Julio Urias to flip flop in that. That maybe even with Dustin May.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what about Ginger Guard?
Yeah, that those three might flip back, and then as I said, Kershaw, Bauer, Buehler, Price. That is a great 1-2.
I don't think I've seen anything that good since maybe the Braves in the '90s.
Yeah.
that's three former Cy Young Award winners, plus a possible another one in Walker Buehler.
Yeah. Yeah, but then also, before we go on to other news, let's go to the Padres depth chart, because that's also as I think it's easy to say that there are three best teams in baseball. One of them's obviously the Yankees, because we're biased, and it's the truth. But the other two are the Dodgers and the Padres, because the rotation, it's not as stacked,
flashy,
but still, Yu Darvish, Blake Snell, Dinelson Lamet is still a very formative
and
1
once they get Clevenger back.
Yeah, but those are all people who finished last year in the top 3 for Cy Young Award.
Mm-hmm.
Clevenger won't be back this year, but he'll be back next year to join them. They have Chris Paddock going in with them. They also have they have a fantastic group of young, highly regarded starting pitching prospects. Trying to see if any. Yeah, Mackenzie Gore is a two-way guy. Jacob Nix is still in the system. And then go on to their lineup, that Hosmer, Cronenworth, Profar, Machado, Tatis, Tommy Pham, Trent Grisham,
Will Myers.
It's not star-studded, but it has a ton of upside on there.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad with this lineup.
No,
not at all.
No. So as I said, if you will be forgiven if you say that the Padres are going to take over the Dodgers this year. It's probably the wrong opinion, but it's not necessarily that outlandish anymore.
Yeah, no. You have 2 bad weeks, and you can overtake another team.
Yeah. Just ask the White Sox.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's our 30 minutes of baseball. Before we switch off, what do you think's probably the team that we mentioned that you are most surprised at isn't where you think it was? Because I'll go first with it and say the Cardinals at 81 and 81, they added in the last 3 years, two of the best players from the NL West in Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado. They still have Yadier Molina behind the plate. They have quality pitching, not headliner names outside of Jack Flaherty, but a lot of good solid names. And with the general riffraff of that division, I think they're at least a number 2 team. They're probably better than the Brewers are too.
I'd have to say the White Sox, at least according to these the PECO
PECOTA.
Um, 'cause they have the White Sox all the way at a measly 83 wins, and I think they're worth a lot more than that.
That's at least,
they're going to fight for first place, I think.
Yeah, and that's at least a
90-win
team.
Fuel that, or take fuel from that meltdown that last week and a half in the shortened season, and use that as fuel and really show that, hey, we were the number one team, we blew it. Now we're going to go back and try and win this.
Yeah,
we've seen, although we have seen with the AL Central over the course of the last 20 years, that teams tend to like to win the division for like 3 years in a row and then falter. So we sort of had the Indians for the last couple of years. Maybe it's the Twins' turn again.
Yeah. Then
we'll
the White Sox.
See.
It was the Royals before that.
Yeah.
And then the Tigers after that. In the last 10 years, I think with the exception of the White Sox collapse, that every team has won that division at least once, or at least and at the very least, all of them have gotten in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Which is a very high turnover. But that's enough baseball, because weirdly enough, that wasn't the most important thing that happened over our last week, because to no one's surprise, the Houston Texans released
not Deshaun Watson.
No,
but
J.J. Watt. And as obvious, now everyone is saying that they want the tight end. That I'm looking at just that
tight end, defensive end.
Defensive end. You know, I don't listen to football that much.
But well, then again, there was in 2014 where he had 3 receives and he had like 5 touchdowns that year. He was basically used as a tight end more or less. So I guess you're not wrong.
Yeah, and then and as to no one's surprise, everyone is in on him. Just looking at Google News, how the Packers could pitch J.J. Watt and playing in Green Bay. Tampa Bay Buccaneers a top shelf option for J.J. Watt. Steelers, Cowboys, Packers among 9 teams that could be his next NFL home. It's a open season for landing J.J. Watt.
Well, here's the problem with J.J. Swat, as they like to call him. So, yes, he's going to go down in league history as one of the best defensive ends ever. What he did, winning 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards, which is no easy task to win at once, let alone twice, 3 times is even crazier. But if you look from between 2012, his second year, he had 20.5 sacks. The following year, he dropped down to only 10.5. Then he was back to 20.5 in 2014. And then he had 17.5 in 2015. 2016 and 17, he had 2 really bad injury-plagued years. He came back in 2018 and had 16 sacks. 2019, he was injured again, only managing 4 sacks. And then in 2020, he only got 5. So he's coming off 3 out of the last 5 years been injury plagued, and last year, even though he played all 16 games, they were still not like numbers he's sort of used to doing. So I don't want to say he's past his prime, because he's played like 10 seasons now.
Yeah.
And not that he's playing at like a premium running back position where your peak is only like 4, maybe 5 years as a top running back. This is he's gonna try and command money because he's got the Defensive Player of the Year awards. Although he didn't have a particularly good season this past year, he can still definitely command a good, like, at least I'd say $15 million. At least. Some teams might even want to throw 25 at him, maybe even 30, depending on what they want to do.
Yeah,
Which is why the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have his brothers TJ and Derek Watt, And as much as both of those guys would want to have JJ on the team, the Steelers cannot afford him.
No.
And that's sort of a problem and sort of a reoccurring theme on some other teams. Wisconsin, for the Green Bay Packers, they look like they might be a good fit because he's from that area, I believe.
Yeah, he's from, looking at his profile, he's from the town of Pewaukee. Not Milwaukee, Pewaukee.
Yeah, so that might be pleasing. I mean, that's not necessarily why Trevor Bauer signed with the Los Angeles Dodgers.
But it could be.
But it helps. So
yeah, that and a $100 million check.
Yeah. But what was nice though is that after the Texans released him, a lot of fans from all over the country were sending $99 to his charity. Some of them did come with pitches as to why to come to their team. So who knows what kind of tampering things that is.
Yeah.
This again is tampering, but it's kind of interesting because the Texans still want to supposedly hold on to Deshaun Watson, but Watson definitely wants out. So who knows what's going to happen here.
But
this is really interesting. I don't know if a team like the Jets could pick him up. That's
probably the Jets have a lot more problems than what J.J. Watt could fix. But yeah, teams are going to give him the extra mile because of his charitable work. It's not he's not like he's a basket case where they're like, all right, we'll put up with your play. This is a guy that people they will build the team around, and he's a good influence. Just listing off his stuff, he's played wheelchair basketball with victims of car crashes, supported families of the Sandy Hook and Santa Fe high school shootings.
The money he's done for all the hurricanes.
I was going to say the $37 million he raised for Hurricane Harvey, which his initial goal was $200,000, to put that in perspective.
Yeah.
So this is and he is also the president and founder of the Justin J. Watt Foundation, in case you were wondering what one of those J's was standing for.
His brother actually Derek also has a middle name that starts with J, so he could be DJ, but Derek apparently didn't like that, so he just goes by Derek.
Well, also because there's only one DJ in sports right now. I'm looking at the news of landing spots, listing some other ones. We said that the Steelers, Cowboys, Packers, Tennessee Titans are listed, Buffalo Bills, Cleveland Browns, Ravens.
See, I don't know if he could go to the
Seahawks.
Titans. That's an old division rival. That would kind of be mean, but hey, when he talks,
they're also close to their projected cap space. So
yeah. But sort of on some sad news, former wide receiver Vincent Jackson was found dead in a hotel room at the age of 38, and he came in as a pick from the Chargers years ago, and he went over to Tampa Bay. I think he last played in like 2016. So he put together some pretty good seasons, I'd say. Just looking here. So he had 2008, 2009, he had over 1,000 receiving yards in 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, also over 1,000 receiving yards. Not too bad in the touchdown category either. So career 57 touchdowns, 9,000 receiving yards. So are those Hall of Fame numbers? I don't know. Maybe not, but still a very well liked player, pretty well respected. But it's sort of tough to see someone like this go down. We're not entirely sure as of recording what went down and why he was found there. Apparently he was staying at the hotel room for the last several days, but actually the last month. He's been there since January 11th. So we're not really sure why. But this just seems, I don't want to say it was drug related, but could have just been a fluke heart attack thing or something, but I don't know, this just seems like kind of out of the blue because he seemed to be fairly respected.
Yeah, so hope condolences to all that. Moving on to basketball, there's a couple news things to talk about. Two for the immediate and one for the future. The two immediate, the first one, the most importantly, the NBA has announced that March 10th is when they will finish their All-Star break and get to the second half of the season.
Mm-hmm.
There'll be the I believe they're stopping on they're stopping on the third. When are they stopping the first half?
Somewhere about then.
Yeah, they're having an All-Star game on the 7th, and then that Wednesday after the 10th, they will be back in play, to get ready for the second half, and then the play-in tournament will start on May 18th.
Yep. So before the All-Star break, they're going to have negative PCR test on March 6th and then 7th before participating in any of the All-Star festivities. And they will be allowed to bring a limited amount of family or close friends. From the report I'm reading, limited is in quotes by Adrian Wojciechowski. So I guess he doesn't know what the limited is. So that's like 3 people, 5 people, 12 people. I don't know.
Which is surprising because Waj usually knows everything in basketball.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say like he's the big guy, so he's saying limited in quotes. I guess that's to be determined in the next couple weeks. But the main thing is that they're only allowed to be at the hotel or the arena, the players and any guests. And then the players and the guests all have to have the tests done as well. Players who are not participating in the All-Star weekend, they either have to stay in their home areas of their teams. They can travel within the country, but they can't stay in any like public places like hotels if they do travel. They cannot do any international travel. They can't have any gatherings of more than 15 people inside. They are allowed to like go outside and exercise and whatnot, but like try and keep it to a minimum. And then it says once everyone, whether they were in Atlanta or not, they will have to undergo daily testing after the break, which is scheduled from March 5th to the 10th. So all players that will be rejoining their teams, they'll have to have 2 PCR tests and 1 rapid test each day, regardless of their teams have a game or not that day, once they get back. Mostly because these last couple times in June before the start of the bubble, back in November for training camp, there have been significant spikes in the cases of COVID, so these players will have to take extra tests to keep that going.
Yeah. The other big news for in the immediate is that the Detroit Pistons are in rebuilding mode. To nobody's surprise, they sent last week. They sent Derrick Rose back to the Knicks to return to his old stomping grounds, and today the Pistons are holding Blake Griffin out for their lineup until further notice, as they are having either a possibility of a trade or a contract buyout.
So this is kind of interesting for me, at least. As if you remember, I'm a Boston Celtics fan, and if you can remember back to the Gordon Hayward sign and trade sort of deal, the Celtics were sort of left with I forget exactly what the amount is, but it was something like $30 million or something basically dead money they can do whatever they want with for a trade because basketball makes absolutely no sense with how they handle contracts.
No, it does not.
I think they just make it up as they go. I keep finding out weird new rules each time that someone opens their mouth in the NBA world.
We should do a whole episode one day of just dissecting the rules of how
that'll be our first live stream.
Yeah.
Because it might take a couple days.
Yeah. We keep a couple days just for everyone to process it.
Yep. So Blake Griffin's got like about a $30 million contract, I believe, for the rest of this year. So the Celtics could then theoretically use that trade thing to absorb that contract.
36.
They're looking.
36. Sorry to interrupt. $36.8 million for Griffin this year, followed by a 38.96. Like they couldn't just put 39 million. I don't know. A player option for next season.
Yeah. So, while they would have to definitely add to that cap space they have, the Celtics, to trade for Griffin, they're probably the best financially able, because one, they're the Boston Celtics, they can afford things, and two, that they have that sort of weird Gordon Hayward rule thing, whatever. And another thing is the Celtics are sitting at 13-13. They started the season at 8-3, and they have gone like 5-10 the rest of the way. I know they haven't had their full lineup for many of these nights. They were missing Jason Tatum or Kemba Walker for the beginning of the season. Then they lost Jason Tatum for a couple weeks. Now they have Marcus Smart out. So their defensive woes are terrible. They can't seem to finish games. It's completely crazy. It's ridiculous. I mean, I talked about at the beginning of the season how they had such a deep depth chart, but everyone's been so injured on this team. I mean, Jaylen Brown's been taking the Celtics to all new heights this year, and it's just amazing that he's becoming this player, which I knew he was a good player, but I didn't think he was a top star player. But he's looking to try and become one. I know the Celtics have re-signed Tatum to a big, massive contract, so whether they do that for Brown or not, that I guess is still up in the air. But despite their 13-13 status right now, they're still 5th in the Eastern Conference. Just 2.5 games back from the second place Milwaukee Bucks. 4.5 back from the Philadelphia 76ers. And a lot of these games for the Celtics, they should have been winning a lot of these games. They keep getting blown out. They got blown out by the lowly Wizards, who we made fun of last week. They've gotten blown out by the Jazz, who are a very good team. They lost pretty badly to the Knicks earlier in the season. They got blown out. I forget who else it was here. The Wizards, they took a beating. They beat the Wizards. Whatever it was, but they've been getting blown out a lot this year on ridiculous levels. So I'm not sure what's happening or going on right now with them, but they really need to get these things sort of fixed. Real quick, because this is not a team that should be at 13-13 right now. They should be a team that has 22 wins this year, being the Utah Jazz, Lakers, or Clippers sort of situation where they're already at 20 wins. They're a better team than this. I know Brad Stevens is a better coach than this. But there are just some nights where basketball is weird, because we saw Stephen Curry drop 10 3-pointers 2 nights ago, and then last night or whatever, he was 2 of 10 for 3-pointers. So I don't know. Basketball is weird for me. I try and follow it. I try and like it, and it's just it throws me in the opposite direction.
Yeah. The last bit of basketball news, Jalen Johnson is recently ranked number 6 on ESPN's draft board. He's a star on Duke University's basketball team, freshman team, or at least he was, as he is now got opted out of the season, and he is opted out and most likely for the draft, partly because his playing time has been reduced dramatically. On Saturday, he played only 8 minutes. Tuesday, he played only 15 minutes. So he has not been playing that, and the Blue Devils are only 8-8 to start the season for the university. So probably saying we're not going anywhere. I might as well freeze my stock here and get ready for whoever he's playing. It might be he doesn't want to play too much and land on like the Timberwolves or the Timberwolves or the Wizards. Like they suck too much. Give me like the Cavaliers or the Bulls or the Rockets.
Yeah. Well, also the other news is Anthony Davis of the Lakers is going to be out, reevaluated in 2 to 3 weeks because of an injury. So the Lakers will have to be without their big man for another month, I'd say. So we'll have to see how LA plans around that. I mean, they've got LeBron, the team's got the confidence running high, so I think the Lakers will be fine. We'll just have to see how that goes. In the NHL, the Devils are back on the ice, but the NHL is adding new protocols after the Sabres, Avalanche, Wild, Devils, and Flyers all had multiple players on the COVID list. The NHL has postponed 35 games because of COVID. So it's being a little bit crazy right now. So they're going to have a lot of PCR tests, and they're trying to work in the U.S. to get some POC rapid testing on game days to all players. They're trying to do that in Canada as well, but Canada sort of has its own like guidelines and rules for things. So they're sort of going to Puerto Rico it and sort of, I guess, be their own thing.
Be an island.
So they're under the NHL protection, but they still have to like sort of do their own thing. So they'll have that. They're gonna reconfigure some of the seating. The penalty box is gonna have the plexi taken away, and some mesh lining is gonna be put back. If they're gonna let fans be near the players, they're gonna put plexi behind the players and put it back like 25 feet and put security by that behind the players. They're going to have that. Work and home quarantining. Players and staff and whatnot are all going to have to remain home and not leave their place except for practices and games or to exercise outside or like go to doctors or deal with like a family emergency. And that they strongly recommend that household members limit their activities outside of the home as well, and encouraging teams to provide ways for household members to be tested for COVID regularly. They're also recommending teams provide KN95 masks to all games and personnel and to be worn at all times when exercising, including when players are in the locker room.
Those are the masks that were big in South Korea, if I recall.
So they'll have that, and then team meetings will be conducted virtually, including coaches' meetings and video review sessions. So I guess that also includes players-only meetings. So the NHL is trying to set that up. We didn't really look at the standings for basketball too much, but that'll be for our future.
We're running on time.
Yep.
Remember when we did 30-minute episodes?
Oh, those were the days. And then we decided we could talk about more things.
Yeah.
But the Lightning are holding top spot in the Central right now. The Bruins are holding the top spot in the East. The Rangers are not at the bottom of the East anymore. But they've still lost 3 games in a row. But they have so many games where they've lost by 1 goal. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of their 9 losses have been by 1 goal, and 2 out of their 4 wins have been by 1 out of their 4 wins have been by 1 goal. So they're there. They're getting into these close games, but they just can't seem to win. And they've had the lead, or at least been tied, heading into the third period. So they're just like falling apart there, and that's what's really killing them.
So you're saying they're the Atlanta Hawks?
Oh, worse than that.
The Chargers, then, or not the Chargers, the Rams. Which one was it in LA?
It was the Chargers.
Yes.
Chargers are the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, Hawks. Yeah.
So the Bruins are leading the East. Maple Leafs are leading the North. And the Vegas Golden Knights with a 1-point lead over the St. Louis Blues in the West. So that's that. We'll have to see how all this crazy shuffling is going to be doing. And I guess the last little bit of news, which I just want to dedicate this NASCAR section to our friend Marty's father, Russell Lynch, who liked NASCAR. He passed away, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just talk a little bit about this. Michael McDowell, who has had 358 Cup starts, finally wins his first race. Now remember, there's only I think 30 races or something, or 40 races throughout the entire year. So that's a lot of years. He was a 100-1 underdog when the race began Sunday afternoon to win the race. 15 laps into the race, there was a big 15-car wreck. And then right at the end, Brad Keselowski's car got into the bumper of Joey Logano. But my dad and I were discussing over dinner. It looked like McDowell hit Keselowski, or he took some of the air away from Keselowski, which caused Keselowski to hit Logano and caused a big fiery crash, which actually, when McDowell crossed the finish line, the race was already called before he crossed it, because of the crash and wreckage and everything. They just waved the flag right ahead. They had the caution checker flag right out, so the race was ended right there. But the key story was Denny Hamlin coming into the race. He had won the past 2 Daytona 500s, and that has only been done, I think, a handful of other times. And all the other times, basically, all the back-to-back winners looking for 3 Daytona 500 wins in a row, they all blew engines early on in the race. So for Denny Hamlin to have a top 5 finish after all of that, I guess with history going against him, that was pretty good for him. He looked like he was going to win. He led a race high, I believe, 98 laps out of the 200 laps or whatever it was. But he got unlucky with some of the pitting, where some of his Toyota teammates did not have as nice of pits, and he sort of got separated and couldn't get any pushes in that single file run towards the end of the race.
It's sometimes NASCAR, it's skill, and other times it's just stay out of the way of everyone and they'll crash themselves out of the race.
And remember, this is now the 20th anniversary of Dale Earnhardt Jr. dying at the Daytona 500 on the final lap in that horrific crash. That's something to remember, how far motorsports, especially in NASCAR, has come along with safety and everything. I mean, I happened to see a video earlier in the week about a car back in, I think, 99 in the Busch Series race, which is the minor leagues of NASCAR, where a car lost its brakes and went 100 miles an hour into the wall, where they had just installed foam barriers, which Dale Earnhardt Sr. actually said, "I'd rather the crew clean that up for 15 minutes than my body." That car ended up being his future 7 times Cup champion Jimmy Johnson. His car just smashed into that. I mean, he walked out fine and stood on top of the car with his hands up, but that
Yeah.
could have been he could have been dead if they didn't put that there.
Yeah.
So NASCAR's definitely come a long way with how they're handling things, but Daytona still seems to be a really dangerous track for whatever reason. I guess I don't know if it's like opening night jitters or people are just trying to win the first race. I don't know, but Daytona seems to be really dangerous.
Well, also remember, you forgot to say after the first crash, within 15 minutes, they had to go into a 5-hour rain delay, so that affected the track conditions as well.
Yep.
So
and that did that as well.
So I'd say probably part of it jitters, another part of it is the fickle Florida weather.
Yeah. Because last year it was all crazy stuff with the weather once they were coming back from COVID. I don't know how many races were rained out. I mean, there was one day I think it was rained out on like Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I think they didn't even race until like Wednesday or something. It was.
In Florida summers it usually rains at some point between 10 o'clock and 4 o'clock without fail every day.
Yeah, it's nuts. But before we break our 1 hour 4-minute record of last week, let's end this up. Wash your hands, wear your masks. Voldemort, thank you for being here.
It's been a pleasure being spiritually with you, considering we can't be physically with each other at the moment. Yep. Hopefully soon that can change, but until then, I will see you next week. Have a good night, everybody.
All right. See ya.